What's up, Greenville? Yeah, good to see y'all. I missed you all, man. It's been like a whole 7 days since I've seen some of y'all. So glad you're all here this morning. So I want to bring everybody up to speed on what we've been talking about. We've been talking about this word, this Hebrew word, chazown, which is kind of a weird word to say, chazown. But this word means a godly vision, a godly dream, or a godly revelation. And we've been talking about how our life experiences, our core values, and our spiritual gifts, that we can look at these things and they contribute to our chazown, or God's vision for our lives. And we've talked about and spun off into the fact that God has a vision for our relationship with Him. God has a vision for our relationship with each other. God has a vision for our finances. He also has a vision for our work. And today, we are here to talk about how God has a vision, a chazown, for our health and our wellness. Now, we do a lot of talking about our faith walk in church, or as a church. But we don't really talk a lot about our health walk. But God does have a lot to say about that. And listen, as it relates to health and wellness, y'all have seen me eat donuts on Sunday morning, so you know I'm not the expert. Now, I am trying, y'all, okay? I will say that. But I brought the experts in. I brought G and Janetta in to help us out. They are a part of our church family, as you all well know, and they are going to help deliver this message today. Okay, so let's give them a round of applause for being here. Now, I will say this. I hit G up months ago about helping out, and then I called and asked if Janetta would help out on Friday. Okay, so she's like, okay, why didn't you ask me 2 months ago? You give him a head start, but not me. What's up with that? So, but they are both very flexible and going to help out. So I want you to start by just introducing your family, okay? We've got a beautiful picture of the family up here. Just tell us about your kids, their ages, names, that kind of thing.
So as you guys know, my name is G, my wife Janetta. We've been married for almost 9 years, but most of the time, 9? Is it 9? I get confused, so I say like 10 years, you know, and she said, hey, no, it's still 9. I was like, okay. My daughter Marissa, can you raise your hand a little bit? And Jay is here.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thanks for introducing your kiddos and that's so 9-10 years.
Yeah, Jay is 8 years old and Marissa is 11.
11. Okay.
10. I can't even remember the
That's all right. They're here though. So you brought them, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
He knows they existed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So anyway, so again, we're here to talk about God's vision for our health and why that is important. I want to start off by reading from God's Word and what He has to say about our health. Now, I'm going to read 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 15. That's where I'm going to start. But I want to make sure that you all understand that Paul, in this scripture, is talking about sexual immorality. Okay? But while it's talking about sexual immorality, I think that it still speaks to health and our bodies. And so I want you to think about, as I read these scriptures, our health and wellness. Okay? 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 15. Don't you know that your bodies are a part of Christ's body? And then we move to verse 19 and verse 20. Don't you realize that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price. So you must honor God with your body. So I just want to start off by just asking you guys, what do you think about when you hear that scripture? And how is health important to our chazown, or God's vision for our lives?
Yeah, so I've been training people for now like almost 13 years. And I started training people in India when I moved to United States. I did most of my education in the United States. When I was doing that, I was also working to become a better Christian in my life. And I knew we never gonna be perfect, but I always wanted to reach my excellence in every aspect of my life. So fitness and health is where I'm really good at, and I'm really confident about it. And there's just so many aspects in my life like I need to work on, like being a better father, being a better husband, and have more patience. So this is why I follow like Bobby and some other people in my life. So like when I was growing up as a kid, like I have a really hard time stay healthy because I was in my teenage years and my dad used to work out of town, and my mom suffered from depression. So we never ate really healthy. I was growing up as a chubby kid, and a lot of my friends, they used to make fun of me all the time. And at that time, I only knew how to cry like a baby because I didn't know anything better. I don't have any friends who can help me become a better version of myself. So somehow I get connected with one of my neighbor, and my neighbor asked me to join a sports called judo. And I want to give you some things on like bullet points. So I almost got raped. I was really abused from my dad because some Indian culture is really weird, and the culture we were growing up in, it was almost like a Hindu religion too. So I grew up in Hindu family, and a lot of things did not make sense to me whenever I asked questions. So they would just keep my mouth shut and beat the heck out of me and my mom. So this is what's happening in my life. So after joining judo, like I became, because of my coach's help, I almost quit judo like more than like 10 to 20 times. I was like, I'm not gonna go do this judo because it's too so hard. But my coaches said, hey, don't give up. You know what, you show up and we're gonna help you. So these coaches always showed up at my door and they helped me out, and they never let me give up. And I never gave up because of them. And then I became 12-time state champion, 6-time national champion. I represented myself in Junior Olympics in Russia, then in Japan. And I became one of the best version of myself. But when I moved to United States, I found out, so whenever some immigrants, they come to United States, so Christian missionary people, what they do, they usually hide behind it and they look for the people who came to the States. So they can hold on them and share the word of gospel, help them become a Christian or a follower of Jesus Christ. So this is what happened to me too. So one of my friend, Korean American friend, he came into my life and he showed me the way to Jesus Christ. And a lot of things did not make sense to me in the beginning, but as I was growing in my faith, everything started making sense of me. And then I was doing personal training in India when I came in here. So I wanted to put, I always wanted to put like a God in my life wherever I go. So somehow, I was like, well, I'm working as a personal trainer, so why I'm not how can I put God in my personal training business where I can only do what is best for people and only do what is right according to exercise. So if you think about exercise, a lot of people think, oh, it's a bodybuilding, oh, it's a sports, but it's not all about that. It's all about being the best version of yourself so you can move well, you can eat well, and you can perform the best of your ability. So this is why I think if we are a follower of Jesus Christ, we want to make sure we're able to perform well and help other people do the same. So this is what I think, yeah.
Yeah, so you've taken your life experiences, core values that you have, as well as your spiritual gifts to really come up with your Chazown, which if you were to say this is my purpose statement, this is who I am, what would be your Chazown, or what you feel God's vision is for you?
Yeah, for my God vision is to help people around the world living the best of their life so they can have on their health and fitness, so they can following the God words.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so now it's your turn. So we get to pass the mic. Y'all don't get to talk, but you get to talk. All right, so share with everybody what your Chazown is, and just as far as life experiences, core values, spiritual gifts, how you got to that point.
I guess I've always known health is important, and then when we got together, he was way more intense about it than I was. So he's kind of helped me stay on track, and so keeping each other accountable and maintaining that example for the kids, and then also showing, having that energy and vigor for life and for God, and being able to just serve Him better.
Mhm.
So that's the whole,
Yeah.
it comes around to that, I think.
Absolutely. So your Chazown is to...
Support Him and
Okay.
be there for Him
Yeah.
and my kids. That's where I'm at.
Well, you guys are an awesome team, right? And I know y'all got some folks here, right?
Yeah.
That,
So Zach, could you raise your hands if you work with me, guys?
Yeah.
So Zach, Debbie, Pat, and Stacy, and Bob.
Awesome. So now, when you say they work with you, what do you mean? Can you?
Yeah. So Zach, he almost lost like almost 110 pounds. Is that correct? And like Zach lost like 110 pounds in last 1 year or two, and he did it just because of it for his kids. So because he wanted to be a better example for his kids. And Debbie, she's been working with me like over 5-6 years now, and like the things I learned from like each person here, like how from Zach I learned how to become a best example for his kids. From Debbie I have learned like never give up, because her wrist was broken almost like a year ago. She always showed up for her session. She never gave up. But she said, just a wrist, my leg works fine. My right arm works fine. So she was like, hey, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna make it happen. Then Bob, he just had like a 2 knee replacement, almost like in between 3 years. Is that correct? And he's like super busy guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like super busy guy. He owned like 18 companies, but he always makes time. 18 different companies,
Wow.
and he always makes time for his workout. So if he can do it,
That's right.
like we all can do it. So we don't have any excuse. So if I think about like I'm busy, I'm making excuse, because Bob is like super busy guy and he's doing it.
Yeah.
And Stacy, his wife, she make it happen too, because I think Bob influences her, and they help each other out. And it always a team. If we are not a good team, husband and wife, and it never works out when it comes to our health. So we're gonna make sure as a husband and wife, we are on the same page, so we can fill His purpose together.
Yeah.
And this is what I used to ask my wife when she was doing accounting, like almost like 7 years ago, 10 years ago. I was like, do you want to just open an accounting firm? Because I want to be in team. I like to be in team. Because I think like a family business and everything works great if you're in a team. And so I was like, if you don't want to do accounting, like you need to come in my team, so we can make this thing better, so we can support more people and create more impact around the world.
Yeah. Well, and again, I have seen their operation. All right, I've been to their home and seen their downstairs area, and it is state of the art, man. I mean, there's awesome equipment and things like that, plenty of space, and I know the teaching that you all provide and things are there, and I've just been impressed in the small time that I've seen it. And then of course I follow y'all's videos and how y'all stream things and put things up, and I think it's awesome. So we just read 1 Corinthians, and some things that jump out to me is that our bodies are on loan to us from God. He has blessed us with our bodies and given those to us, and we need to be good stewards of our bodies. And you've been teaching me that over the last few months, to kind of be a good steward of what God gave me, and that's a good way to honor God. And so it helps us to be enthusiastic about our Chazown when we are healthy. Now, if you drove by a church and somebody was vandalizing the church, throwing rocks and stuff through the windows and painting or doing whatever, tearing up the church, how would you react to that? Would you be upset? Would you be disappointed? Would you go, oh man, that's too bad? Would you call the police? What would you do? Just think about that. You don't have to shout it out loud, but what would you do if somebody did that to the church? I'm pretty sure that you would be outraged about it, and you would probably do something about it. But it said in 1 Corinthians that our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, the temple of God's Spirit. So if we are constantly vandalizing, in essence, our bodies, shouldn't we start to get upset about that, and I think that is the case. I know that when building a home, when I remember when my parents built their home, there was this big blueprint of what the home was supposed to look like. There were measurements. There was a plan. Would you ever buy a home or move into a home that never had a plan or a blueprint, and they just kind of threw it up and said it's just kind of how it ended up? Would you move into that home? Probably not. Well, as it relates to our health, I think there is a blueprint or a plan for our health, and I would like for y'all to just kind of talk about what does that look like to you guys as far as a plan or a blueprint for our health.
Yeah, so before we even talk about like blueprint for our health, we have to make sure like why we do what we do in the glory of God when it comes to our health. If you think about like we live every day in our life, and we just keep going. We are really busy schedule and we just keep going, and we don't even think about like what is most important thing for us. So first thing, if you are a disciple of Jesus Christ, we need to make sure we are doing everything in the glory of God, which also including our health. So how do we create that intentions all the time in our mind and our heart? Because it's always about like our heart, you know. If our heart is not changed, we never ever able to gonna perform well in our life. So if think about the rubber band. Do you all have a rubber band on your chair? There's a rubber band. Okay, let's use this rubber band. What we're gonna do, we're gonna open this rubber band and we're gonna put around our fingers and thumb. So just like that. Can you all see me? Okay, let's put the rubber band in your hand. Okay, and we're gonna stretch this rubber band. So what happens now? The rubber band is creating a tension. So when rubber band creates tension, what's happened? Rubber band is doing its job, right? Rubber band is doing its job. So when we put the rubber band down on the table right here, what's happening now? It's worthless. It doesn't have any purpose, it doesn't have any job as long as we don't use it. So if you are using the God strength He already has given you. So if you're aware, first you have to be aware of, do you really need to work on your health, or you're doing everything great in your life? So if you're not doing it, if you're not using the strength, if you're not aware of it, like we're not gonna able to use it. So first you have to make sure you create that tension all day long. You have to be aware in your mind, hey, I have the tension in my mind and my heart because I need to change. So always make sure like you have that tension in your heart to change your heart. It's always like 18-inch walk from your mind to your heart. As long when you're gonna take that walk, your mind to your heart, you're gonna change your heart, and then you will do what is best for you.
I love that you mentioned that. It's important to find out what the purpose is before we even start mapping it out and doing the blueprint and the plan and all those kinds of things. Because if you don't have a purpose for what you're trying to accomplish, obviously we're going to run into some difficulty. And I love that you talked about, you know, how God feels about, again, our health and why it's important. And is it a vanity thing? Is it, you know, I want to look good when I'm on the beach, or I want to look good, you know, when I get out of the shower and look at myself in the mirror? Is that the main purpose or the main focus? Or is it for the purpose of being able to do the work God has called us to do? Also know that it's obviously important that we have realistic goals when we're planning our physical activity and things like that. And you shared some crazy statistics with me here a while back, and we're going to put those up on the screen. Well, one's a statistic, and then one's just some guidance from them on how we're supposed to exercise. But this one statistic was about related to 30 minutes of exercise.
Yeah.
And talk about that and how many people do that.
Yeah, so 95% of the people in the world, actually, they hardly get like 30 minutes of activity every day. So it means they are really busy in their life, or they are doing something to avoid that activity level. Maybe they are watching too much TV, maybe they are too much on YouTube, maybe they are doing too much Instagram or too much Facebook. So if you write it down your day, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. before you go to bed, what you do every day, And why are you not making that 30 minutes activity a day? 30 minutes activities can be like just brisk walking. If you only do brisk walking every day, it can make a huge difference in your life. So like my dad, he had a diabetes. So whenever he comes to my house, I mean, he lives around the Louisville area and he's a diabetic patient. So he don't make that 30 minutes activity time every day. And he works like 10 hours a day. He still have time. What he do, so he don't speak much English. So he go on YouTube and watch Hindi movies because that's what he like to do on his free time. And he don't make time to do 30 minutes activity. And also, like if you only do like 2.5 hour to 3 hour activity, intense activity a week, then you don't have to make time 30 minutes every week. Then you're done. And then if you do like 3 to 4 hours or 5 hours activity, 30 minutes a week, then you don't have to do 3 hour high intensity activity whole week. So it's like you pick and choose according to your schedule. Hey, I have a really busy schedule. I work Monday to Friday and I can only make time 30 minutes walk a week. Okay, I'm gonna do 30 minutes walk a week, and then Saturday and Sunday I have more time, so I will do 2 intense workout on Saturday and Sunday. And also you have to understand, when I say intense workout, it doesn't mean like you have to work out like really crazy. So my intensity will be totally different than my wife's intensity. Her high intensity level, maybe she work out for like 30 minutes, like on stairs up and down and do some weight training. And my intensity level can be like, I can only do like a few reps. So like Zach intensity level and Bob intensity level is going to be totally different. Bobby intensity level and Janita's level is going to be totally different. Bobby might be able to do like hardcore weight training according to his level if he has been doing for like if he has a lot of practice, and Janita might be able to do 2 hours of light intensity. So your intensity work as you work out. You know, do you understand what I mean? Yeah.
So when I went over to their house here recently, we had lunch and we were chatting a little bit, and he goes, "What kind of exercises are you doing, or what's your favorite exercise?" And I showed him, and he gave me some helpful tips that I wasn't doing the exercises the best way that I could. And then he goes, "What kind of cardio stuff are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm doing the elliptical thing, you know." And he goes, "Why don't you ride a bike?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't." He goes, "Well, how about you hop on this bike?" And he goes, "I think you can kind of get your heart rate where it needs to be, probably better." Dude, I got on this bike. Now, mind you, I just ate. But I got on this bike, and I wasn't on there but a few minutes, dude. My heart rate was like up there real quick. And I'm trying to talk to them at the same time. Have you ever tried to like exercise and talk at the same time? So what I was doing was, I was like, dude, I gotta stop talking to y'all because I'm about to fall out right here in y'all's basement. But so my activity level needs to be just a smidge lower. So I do want you to talk. You mentioned weights. Now, for some of us, you mentioned weights. It's like, man, I can't lift heavy weights and stuff like that. Tell me about weights and what that should be.
Yeah, so guys, it's never about like how much weight you're lifting. It's a myth. If people say you have to get stronger to lift weights, they are like completely false statement. I can argue about it like all day long, but like I don't tend to, because I do what is necessary. And like we are like actually packed with clients, and we do what is best for people. You know, so about the weight is like you just need to find out what can you do. So if I can lift this iPad, if I have this iPad and this iPad is like really light for me, okay, so I'm gonna add like maybe like two pounds more. Then I'm gonna make this weight harder for me. It's almost like when you read a scripture, when Jesus say, "Hey, I am your friend and I command you to do that." You can listen to Jesus as a friend or not. It's your responsibility, right? So if you lift that weight, you have to create attention in your mind. How do I lift weight to make it harder on myself? So we don't lift weight just to work out. We lift weights to move well. You know, so we know there is always a technique for a lot of things. So like maybe how many of you all do push-ups? Ever done push-ups? Okay, you all done push-ups? Okay. That's
Did you
great.
say do or done push-ups?
Done push-ups or
Done
do push-ups. Okay, done push-ups. Okay. So there's a really awesome thing I want to show you guys, like how our chest work. So when you do push-ups, how you do push-up, Bobby? Both hands in front of you.
Yep.
Yeah, and then
And
you
then just
go back
down
and
and
come
up.
forward, right?
Right.
So how push-ups works in our scientific way, how push-ups work. So straight your both hands for me. Now go out and go in. So our chest muscles work when our humerus, this is our biceps, okay? When our humerus go across our chest. So go ahead, now push in. So if you can see or not, his chest is moving.
What's that supposed to be? I'm joking.
That's all right. So his chest is moving when he's going up. So next time when you do push-ups, try this. Put your both hands on the floor and push the floor together. So push my hands together like you're pushing the floor together.
Yep.
When he does that, the chest creates more tension. Are you
So
feeling
do
more?
that while I'm pushing
While
up?
you're pushing up and
Okay.
going down. So
Because
when
that
you
was
do
hard
that,
and I wasn't even pushing up.
yeah, so when you push your biceps against your chest, this is what it creates tension. And when you go up and down while creating the tension, this is how your muscles works. So each and everything you do in exercise has its own biomechanic techniques. It's too much to explain, but we will happy to do that for you maybe someday down the road, teach
Yeah.
them like if they're doing it right or wrong. And it is really important to learn that, like how to do it right. If you're not doing it right, we're gonna get zero results. And we're gonna get more injury. Like exercise, sorry? Yeah, exercise is supposed to be about like making yourself healthier, more stable, more mobile, not supposed to hurt you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you pointing out about my iPad workout, so just in case anybody wants to try that out.
Yeah.
That's the way to use it. So, anyway, go ahead.
And also, I would just mention, don't get overwhelmed by it. Don't make it something that you can't do because you're overthinking it. Start simple. It's the best thing you can do is just start.
Yeah.
And then if you want to learn more, there's always someone out there to give you a
Yeah, because it
technique
can
or
be
two.
intimidating. right?
Yeah, it can be really intimidating. So, it's a lot to think about. So just,
Absolutely.
don't let it overwhelm you either.
Yeah. All right, hold on to the mic. So, a lot of people have excuses for why they don't exercise. How many of you all have excuses when you don't exercise, right? So, what's the most common excuse that you hear about why people can't exercise?
Probably time.
Yeah.
I just don't think they have the time to do it.
So, for those people that say, I just don't have the time, what would be your recommendation for, how they can overcome that obstacle?
I would look at, just take it simply and look at your schedule and just find out what you can be doing other than, if you're noticing how much time you're spending on your screens or,
Yeah.
maybe get up a little bit earlier and have a little bit more time. But, everything is a balance. Life is a balance. So you want to make sure you're balancing your spiritual life, your physical activity, and everything else. So everything just takes, a little bit of juggling here and there and just figuring out what works best for you. So.
Absolutely. I love the point about, making that the first thing that you do in the day. Because if we do it later in the day, and this is the problem I have when I do that, something comes up, almost guaranteed. So I almost have to get up earlier to do that. Now, I know I've been talking to y'all about getting up early and having time with God and those types of things. And you're like, okay, Bobby, you're talking to me about I need to have time with God. Now you're talking to me about I need to have time for exercise. You're using up all my time. Well, a lot of times I'll combine my exercise and my God time. I have the headphones on or whatever, earbuds, and I'm listening to things. If you have the Bible app, you can play the audio and have it read to you. I mean, there's things that you can do during the time that you work out. You just have to be intentional about it. The other thing that I like that you said is just talking about planning it. I mean, how many of us, by show of hands, have meetings throughout the day? All right? Those are scheduled, and whether you schedule them or somebody else does, and then you go to them. And sometimes that's just what we have to do as it relates to our exercise. We have to schedule and block time for that. All right, so I want to transition to, we talked about Blueprint for Health, kind of exercise related. I want to talk a little bit about a blueprint for something else. And this something else is actually a sin. I got everybody's attention. Everybody says sin. What was it? So it's actually a sin. It's a sin that as Christians we don't like to talk about a whole lot. You know, we are quick to say that smoking and drinking and sexual immorality and all these things, those are sins, but not this. And that this is gluttony. Gluttony. And just to talk about that for just a second, really it's just a greedy eater, okay, is what gluttony is. Now, I know some of you are going, no, but I eat gluten-free, so I'm good. Right now it's gluttony. Glutton and gluten, right? Those are different. Okay, I thought I read that somewhere. So anyway, but all of these things, whether it's smoking, drinking, and gluttony, these things are bad for us. They cause us to not be healthy and can be addicting, including our food. Again, I want to talk about God's Word for just a minute because God has a lot to say about gluttony. And I'm just going to read from Proverbs chapter 23 for just a minute. It says, "Don't associate with those who drink too much wine or with those who gorge themselves on meat. For the drunkard and the glutton will become poor, and grogginess will clothe them in rags." And then in verse 1 through 3, "When you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is before you." So I want you to imagine this is a king, a ruler. What would that meal look like that you're joining in on? This is like the Golden Corral buffet, right? I mean, there's food all over the place. All kinds of food to choose from. Got the chocolate fountain and everything. "So consider carefully what is before you and put a knife to your throat if you have a big appetite." So that's one way to kind of restrain yourself from eating so much. So if you see me at the Golden Corral buffet going, "Don't do it, man, back away from the chocolate fountain," you know that I'm referring, or I'm looking back here on Proverbs 23. It says, "Don't desire his choice food, for that food is deceptive." And then we can even think about Esau and how he traded his birthright to his brother Jacob. Traded his birthright, what he was going to get when his dad passed on. His birthright. He traded for what? Does anybody remember? Food. Yeah, a bowl of stew. So he rode up in there hungry. Have you ever been this hungry? Hungry. Traded his birthright, what he was going to receive from his dad. Traded it for a bowl of stew or a pot of stew. That's crazy to me, but I have been that hungry. Now, we can't let our appetites control us. We need to control our appetites. And I know what you may be saying, "Bobby, I can't, man." And I feel the same way. When Mr. K. Ruse brings them chocolate donuts up in here, I am knocking little kids over to get the chocolate donuts. Okay? But as a believer in Christ, I have the Spirit of God. You have the Spirit of God that lives in you. And so do you all, as believers. And the fruits of the Spirit, one of those fruits is self-control. So when we say, "I can't control myself," that's simply not true. We can, because we have the Spirit of God in us. So I do want to read 1 Corinthians chapter 6. This is Paul talking. He's talking about glorifying God in body and spirit. And he says this, "Everything is permissible for me, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible for me, but I will not be mastered by anything." Now, if you're like me, a lot of times I'm a grown man. I can do what I want to do. It's not against the law if I eat, a chili cheese dog, 2 feet long or that kind of thing. But he says everything's permissible, but not everything is beneficial. So what would you all have to say about our eating habits, nutrition? I'll let you guys kind of knock that back to me.
Yeah, so just remember, my name is G and I'm your friend. And I promise my wife, nobody throw any rotten tomato and shoes on her face when I'm going to talk about the eating healthy and stuff. So please do not do that. Just remember, I'm your friend. So when we talk about the eating part, so what happened, where we usually fail? You know, I usually call it fail or success. You know, it's all about like these two things in my life. Like, am I doing my best job during eating or not? And also when we talk about like eating, it doesn't have to be like 100% perfect. Just remember, we're never going to be perfect. If you follow 80-20 rule, you're going to do best in your life. Okay, because God wants us to have fun too. Like, He don't want us to be like slave to just eating all the healthy food all the time. We can have fun, we can have little wine, we can have a chocolate, we can have a pizza, we can have a ice cream. You know, I love ice cream, I love candy and everything, but I do that on 80-20% rule. So I eat 6 times a week, like really good, and then one day a week I ask my wife, hey, can we go get that coconut ice cream dairy free? Sorry.
Ask me.
Yeah. I have to. I mean, because if I won't, she, I have to, like, I have to say, like, I'm the, I think, most intense person at my house who won't let them bring any bad food in my house. So we had a fight. Like, we were at the point in our marriage where I was like, you know what, if you're not gonna bring the food I want in my house, like, I cannot live with people like you, actually. I was at that point, and that's true, I have to be honest. But then I have to work how to communicate with my wife. Whenever, if she tried to grab something, I learned how to slap nicely on her hand so she can grab it. And I asked her to do the same. You know, so when I shared this with people, I was like, how can you live with this guy right here? And they're right, you know, they're right, it's hard. But the only people who can save you for doing these crazy things is your spouse, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, or your parents, if you let them. But like, I have promised my wife, hey, never get upset if you hold anything bad, you know, or if I do something, feel free to slap me and remind me, like, I'm supposed to stay on track.
All right, so what's the 80-20?
So 80-20% rule is like, you want to make sure, like, so let's say, imagine like, if I'm like 160-pound male, okay, and according to my body weight, I use a formula to find out like how much calorie I should be eating every day. So it tends to be like around like 1750 to 2000 calorie, as long as I'm working out 2 to 3 hours a week. If I am not working out 2-3 hours a week, I do not deserve those 2000 calories. I have to eat less, so I don't gain weight, I don't gain extra body fat. So this is how it works when it comes to the life. So it's very easy things to do. Like, you can pick like 3 meals. 3 meals can be like lean and green. So like a simple meat, whatever you like, choose 3 meals, 3 lean and green, like 4 ounces of meat, and 3 to 4 different vegetables like on each plate. And like for healthy fats, you can have like nuts like almonds, pecans.
I had that when I came over to your house.
Yeah.
So we're getting our food together, and he goes, "What do you eat for your healthy fats?" And I went,
I probably don't eat healthy fats more.
so he had jars full of all these different kinds of nuts. It was good too. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so if somebody come to our house, I make sure they're eating what they're supposed to eat. Like, I usually do not care about like people taste, but she does. So if Bobby's coming having lunch with me, I ask him, are you allergic to anything? If he say no, he's gonna eat one of the best healthy meal at my house, because I wanna make sure, like, it's really important for me. It's really important for me, like,
Well, we had chili,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it was good chili, y'all. I mean, it was legit chili, and I'm sitting there going, "Is this healthy or not healthy? I don't know." I know it is, because look at this. Look at them. They look great, right? So, but no, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I also like, I want to make sure like I share my vision and what God has asked me to share with Americans and these people in the world. It is very, very important. Like, you guys are the leader of the country. You know, we always hear like, it doesn't matter what your country can do for you. It's all about like what you can do for your country. and what we can do as a disciple of Jesus Christ. So this is the message Jesus wants me to share with all over the people around the world, especially Christian people who follow Jesus. Like, you are the one who's going to give America what they need. And we cannot give if we are living on like unhealthy body. And it's really, really important to understand that, because as an American, we are the leader of the world actually. If you believe it or not, like, I have seen how I have lived in my country, and what America does for other countries. So you want to make sure as an American and as a follower of Jesus Christ, we need to take care of our body so our kids can learn from us and they do what is necessary for our churches, for our country, and for the leaders. And especially leaders, if you're a leader like Bobby, like who lead other people, so like I always make sure like the leaders do what is really important for their health, and I try to hold them accountable. If they are not, I keep reminding them with text, and I just tell them, hey, I'm G and I'm your friend.
That's right.
Don't throw any tomatoes, or don't tell me I can't come to church anymore because you'll keep bugging me.
Right.
So I just want to make sure, like, as a follower of Jesus Christ, we understand how important it is for us to do what is best for us.
So if I'm sitting there, because I'm terrible at math, like when they talked about, a train going 40 miles an hour, a train going 60 miles, I never could get that. Now you're talking about 80-20 calories, ounces. Is there a quick, you reaching for the mic, ain't you? Go ahead and get it. He said he was going to smack your hand.
The
Anyway.
80-20 rule, you would just think about 80% of the time you eat well, and then give yourself 20% of the time to not eat well.
Okay.
So that makes it a little bit more simpler to think about.
So how do I know how much food to put on my plate? Is there like an easy way to do that instead of me measuring ounces?
Yeah,
Is
so
there
if
something-
you-
all right.
Yeah, so
Very
if
good.
you think about this is a plate, okay?
Okay.
So on the plate, like, you want to make sure your thumb area is like a healthy fats. So healthy fats cannot be butter. You want to make sure it's like a avocado. It can be some macadamia nuts, pecans, and walnuts. And if you're allergic to all these, you can use like avocado only, or you can just drink like a regular fish oil and cod liver oil. It doesn't gross you out.
That's actually what I'm drinking right now.
Okay,
I
and
need a
then,
mint, by the
Just
way.
take the fish oil capsules. You don't have to drink.
Okay.
yeah, or you can take a fish oil healthy capsule.
It's a lot easier.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can't get them open to.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I like eating more natural. Okay, and then that part of your palm, the bottom part of your palm, you can have like carbohydrates, because carbohydrates is very, very important for your body. A lot of people, they go like no carbs diet. It is okay, in the long run, but you want to make sure your brain needs minimum of 90 gram to 120 gram of carbohydrates.
All right. So real quick example of carbohydrates. What would?
Like good sweet potatoes
I love
are
sweet
better
potatoes.
than white potatoes. But like if you want to eat white potatoes, that's totally fine. But you want to make sure you don't overdo it.
Okay.
And brown rice,
Okay.
it's a whole grain. And squash, yellow squash, is it called yellow squash? Yeah. So you can have a yellow squash. Those are like carbohydrates. Then you can have like 40% of protein. So other half is like 40% of protein. Then the rest of them like vegetables. So whenever you choose vegetables, I would prefer you to choose spinach over lettuce. Okay, because lettuce has a really less nutrition value. You can use spinach, green peppers, bell peppers, zucchini, and broccoli, and all these kind of great things. You just want to make sure you are choosing at least 2 to 3 different kind of vegetables, because each vegetables have different vitamin and nutrient. Lettuce would have less, but like a spinach, bell pepper, zucchini, when you combine all 3, it has a different vitamin and nutrient. So you want to make sure you choose 3 to 4 different kind of things. Yeah.
All right, so what we'll do, and we talked about this, we're going to provide some information for you guys next week that kind of get you going the right direction. Some of them are just, it sounds like if you like white rice, do the, not white rice, what'd you call it?
Yeah, brown rice or
All right,
wild rice.
If it's, baked potato, instead do,
Sweet potatoes.
yeah, so just, some of it's just changing some things up.
Yeah, and I would say like be very open-minded. And you have to learn this from me, because I came here from India. I had zero idea about American culture, like how American culture works. But I was very open-minded to accept it, because I love American culture, like how people are very independent. In my country, people are not as independent as people are in America. So when I met Janeda, she grew up eating like a corn steak and sweet potato and gravy, all that. So I was asking, why are you eating like that? And I lived in Japan for 6 months, by the way. And I was in Russia for when I did my Olympics. So I have learned all these cultures, like how they eat and everything. And Japanese live, they are the, I don't want to call them like skinny, but they are the healthiest people alive right now on the world. But in America, we eat like more gravy and sweet potatoes and all that stuff. That's totally fine, you know. Gorge yourself maybe on Thanksgiving, on Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But we need to learn how to eat healthy to have like a better health, you know, so we can fill in the God purpose. Again, it's all about God purpose. If you have a business about fitness, or if you have a business about church, or if you own like several companies, or if you have a job, or whatever you're doing, health is gonna go with you everywhere. You're not gonna able to do anything until you have a good health. And that's what it's all about. You know, our Chazown, our vision and purpose is all about where are you in your life, on your health. If you just write it down, where am I, what I need to do, and that's how we create a plan.
All right, so anything you want to say before I close this out?
Well, I wanted to bring up the example of Daniel when he was taken captive and they wanted him to be part of the, you know, the elite that they had there. And he said no, you know, they wanted to give him the best food they had and everything. And he said, I'm going to eat what God told me to eat. And he said, you give me, you know, a certain amount of time and we'll see who is doing better. And, you know, that example is a good one to follow. You know, and he was able to, you know, do his best for God by saying he was going to follow what God wanted. You know, that's just, you know, maybe something to keep in mind. If you need some encouragement, is to look at Daniel as an example of what he did.
Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. Sorry. That was a mic drop right there. She could have said, boom, I'm out, yo.
So, and also like, you know, like we're gonna have a hard time doing that. Like after you leave tomorrow, or after you leave today, after you leave today, what's gonna happen? Like you might not gonna able to think clearly whatever I said or whatever she said or whatever we talked about. So we're gonna have to make sure we create a plan. It is very important to have a plan and do what is needed to be done in your life when it comes to your health and fitness. You know, if you want to start today, hey, 30 minutes walk every day until you do our next session to guide them more towards the right direction. Okay, and also like pray. It is very, very important to pray. Like this is one of my Chazown has dream come true today, because I've been sleeping, whenever I go to bed, like from last whole year, like I've been talking to my wife, I'm making all this video for Facebook, Instagram and all that kind of stuff, like, but how can I impact more people every day in my life? And then Bobby came and he just asked me from nowhere, hey, would you like to talk about that? So this was like one of my Chazown. I want to make sure like people all over the world, all over the America, they do understand that they need to take care of their health. If you're not going to take care of your health, I'm sorry, we cannot create, or we can't be a greatest nation of earth, because we're going to die sooner. If you're dying sooner, you're not going to be able to serve God more. So you want to make sure you are healthy as you can be, and you can live to your full potential, so you can preach more just like him, because each one of us has our own different story, and each one of us can impact like one life. So as long as I'm doing good job for my kids, I know my kids will do the same thing for like others, hopefully, you know.
Don't rely on your own strength, rely on God's. That's the best way to get anything done.
Amen. Preach, sister. That's right. All right, so listen, we've been talking about Chazown. We've been talking about God's vision for our lives. We are his masterpiece. He created us on purpose for a purpose, okay? And if we are not healthy, it is very difficult for us to live out that purpose, as they put it. So I do want to say, God bless you guys. I look forward to hearing how you're living out your Chazown. Have a great week. Love you all. Peace.